Princess Charlotte is worth billions on paper. She's the third in line to the British throne, surrounded by palaces, helicopters, and armed guards every single day. But she flies economy, under a fake name, on 73-pound tickets. This is how the world's richest kid actually travels, and why. The richest kid on a budget flight. Princess Charlotte of Wales is third in line to the British throne. Her father, Prince William, inherited the Duchy of Cornwall when King Charles III took the crown in September 2022, an estate that generated a distributable surplus of £22.9 million for the 2024-25 financial year. That money covers the Wales family's official duties, charitable work, and private expenses. Her grandfather draws income from the Duchy of Lancaster, roughly £28.7 million in recent figures, plus private estates like Balmoral and Sandringham, whose full value is not publicly disclosed. The Crown Estate, the property empire that funds the monarchy's official operations, posted record profits driven by offshore wind farm leases, pushing the sovereign grant to £132.1 million for 2025-26, a staggering 53% increase from the year before. Charlotte lives between Adelaide Cottage in Windsor Great Park, Kensington Palace in London, and Anmer Hall in Norfolk. She has access to royal residences, private estates, and a financial infrastructure stretching back centuries. The combined wealth pipeline feeding this single family, duchy revenues, crown estate profits, sovereign grant allocations, private investments, and centuries of accumulated property, places Charlotte at the center of one of the richest institutional frameworks on Earth. She does not have a bank account stuffed with billions. She does not sign checks, but the financial machinery that keeps her fed, housed, educated, transported, and protected operates at a scale that dwarfs the net worth of most corporate dynasties. And in August 2019, she sat in economy class on a Flybe turboprop from Norwich to Aberdeen on a ticket that cost about £73. Let that satisfying little detail sink in for a moment. £73. That is what it cost to fly the daughter of the future King of England across the United Kingdom. William, Kate, Charlotte, George, Louis, and their nanny boarded a budget Bombardier Dash 8 propeller plane alongside regular passengers. No private terminal, no luxury lounge, no fleet of attendants clearing a velvet-roped path. They carried hand luggage. They walked across the tarmac in full view of other travelers. Fellow passengers photographed the family disembarking at Aberdeen, the household behind a fortune worth billions in combined crown assets, stepping off the same regional aircraft used by commuters heading to the Scottish Highlands for the weekend. This is how Princess Charlotte travels. Prince George, as a baby, was booked as Baby Jones. Royal expert Emily Andrews confirmed this pseudonym practice in a Channel 5 documentary. The names go through the protection team, not a royal secretary. The airline receives a discreet last-minute briefing. Gate staff learn the truth minutes before boarding. The passenger in the next row never finds out. Think about that. A family that could charter an entire aircraft with pocket change from a single quarter's duchy income instead chooses to sit in the same narrow seats, breathe the same recycled cabin air, and endure the same overhead bin shuffle as every other passenger on a 50-seat regional turboprop. Kate and the children, including Charlotte, have been spotted on economy flights to Balmoral on multiple occasions. The pattern repeats with meticulous consistency. Casual clothes, hand luggage, no entourage. Close protection officers from the Metropolitan Police sit in nearby rows, dressed in plain clothes, jeans, jackets, backpacks, invisible to anyone who does not know what to look for. The girl who stands to inherit privileges most people will never taste waits in the same boarding queue, sits by the same window, and fastens the same seatbelt as everyone else. The entire system depends on the fact that most travelers are too absorbed in their own phones and carry-on bags to notice the family behind a multi-billion-pound estate sitting 3 rows behind them. And yet, this is the same girl who sounds like this in front of the cameras.
Hello, David Attenborough. I like spiders. Do you like spiders too?
I love spiders. I'm so glad you like them.
Completely disarming, completely normal. That was Charlotte asking Sir David Attenborough about spiders during her very first official royal engagement, and she sounded like any child chatting with a favorite grandparent. not like someone whose family sits on a financial empire worth billions. The family flies budget for 3 reasons. Private jets are lavishly expensive, and the British public watches every penny of Crown spending with sharpening scrutiny. The Sovereign Grant Annual Report for 2024 to 25 showed £4.7 million spent on official travel alone, covering helicopters, chartered flights, and scheduled services for the entire royal household. Every high-profile private charter gets flagged by tabloids and anti-monarchy campaigners. A family on a £73 budget flight looks prudent and responsible. A family stepping off a Gulf Stream while the country struggles through a cost-of-living crisis looks profoundly tone-deaf. But the deeper reason is not cost. William and Kate want Charlotte to understand what a normal queue feels like. That choice is calculated. It is parenting. And it is also public relations for an institution acutely aware that its extravagant spending is increasingly difficult to justify. That deliberate contrast, the immense fortune behind the scenes, the ordinary experience in front of the cameras, defines how Princess Charlotte moves through the world. And the fake names on boarding passes are only the beginning, because the luxury she can actually access when the situation calls for it paints an entirely different picture. The luxury fleet she can access but rarely uses. The Wales family is not limited to budget airlines. When security demands it, when the trip is official, or when the destination crosses international borders, the full weight of the Crown's travel apparatus deploys, and the resources at its disposal are nothing short of staggering. For international state visits and high-profile engagements, the family uses RAF jets, typically the Airbus Voyager, a military-grade wide-body aircraft repurposed for VIP transport, or chartered private planes, or helicopters from the King's helicopter flight. The Voyager is not a modest aircraft by any measure. It is a converted Airbus A330, the same airframe used by major commercial carriers to shuttle hundreds of passengers across oceans and continents. When configured for royal use, it transforms into a flying private suite, secure communications equipment, private cabins, space for staff, protection officers, and senior advisors. The cost of a single long-haul royal journey on this aircraft can run into hundreds of thousands of pounds. The King's visit to Samoa and Australia, for instance, reportedly cost over £400,000. Then there are the helicopters. The King's helicopter flight operates 2 Augusta Westland AW-139, aircraft based at RAF Odiham, used for rapid hops between royal residences, events, and engagements scattered across the English and Scottish countryside. Each AW-139 is a multi-million-pound twin-engine machine, the same model used by VIP transport services worldwide, prized for its speed, range, and cabin size. William, who served as a search and rescue pilot and later an air ambulance pilot, knows these machines with an intimacy that most royals before him never possessed. Helicopter travel compresses what would be a 3-hour motorway crawl into a 40-minute flight over patchwork fields and rolling hills. For a family constantly splitting time between Windsor, London, Norfolk, and Scotland, the helicopter is not an indulgent luxury. It is a logistical necessity funded by a budget that would qualify as generational wealth for an ordinary household. On the ground, the fleet is equally imposing. Everyday school runs and short trips use specially modified Range Rovers and similar armored vehicles outfitted with bulletproof glass, reinforced bodywork, and blast-resistant panels. These are not off-the-lot purchases. Each vehicle is custom-engineered at a cost that can reach 6 figures before it ever turns a wheel on a public road. Armed protection officers ride alongside or in trailing vehicles. Kate often drives herself for shorter outings, a deliberate, carefully calibrated gesture of normality. But the vehicle she drives is far from standard. It has been built to withstand ballistic and explosive threats. The children sit in the back with the nanny, encased in materials designed to stop rounds and absorb shockwaves. Even the routine school run, a journey of a few miles along quiet Berkshire lanes, is wrapped in a layer of protective wealth that most families would associate with heads of state or billionaires billionaire tech moguls, not a 10-year-old girl heading to morning assembly. Charlotte's daily life unfolds inside this cocoon of wealth-funded protection. She attends Lambrook School in Berkshire, a prestigious independent prep school set across 52 acres of manicured English countryside, where tuition runs between £7,000 and £9,000 per term, paid privately by the Wales family from Duchy of Cornwall income. That is upward of £27,000 a year for one child, in a household sending 3 children to the same institution. At school, she is known simply as Charlotte Wales. No title, no princess used in the classroom or on any register. But the armed officers from the Metropolitan Police's Royalty and Specialist Protection Unit are there every single day, handling the school run, scanning the perimeter, conducting background checks on staff, and vetting even close friends who visit for playdates. The security alone around her school commute costs more than most families spend on an entire year of education. And when she is not at school, Charlotte does things like this.
We both want to wish the Lionesses the best of luck for tonight.
That was Charlotte alongside her father, filming a message for the England women's football team before the UEFA Women's Euro 2025 finale in Basel, Switzerland. She wore a polka dot dress and cheered from the stands. Classic dad-daughter outing. But behind that image of a normal girl at a football match sat an intricate web of cross-border security coordination, diplomatic clearances, armored transport, and advanced teams, all funded by the sprawling financial apparatus of the Crown.
You've done amazingly well in the competition and we're rooting for you all the way.
Good luck. I hope you win. Bye.
Just listen to that confidence. That is a 10-year-old who sounds completely at ease in front of a camera and completely unaware, or at least appearing unaware, that the machinery keeping her safe for that single football trip costs the British state more money than most families will see in a decade. But that machinery does not just protect Charlotte from physical threats, it also enforces the institution's ancient rules about which members of her wealthy family are even allowed to sit next to one another on an aircraft. The rule that splits a wealthy family in the sky. There is a protocol inside the British royal family that has nothing to do with budget or luxury, but everything to do with preserving the fortune, the power, and the continuity of the crown itself. Direct heirs to the throne cannot fly on the same aircraft. The rule is unwritten. It is not codified in any act of parliament or inscribed in any legal document. No royal website explains it. No press officer will confirm its exact terms. But it is observed with the rigid, unyielding discipline of an institution that has survived for over 1,000 years precisely because it plans for catastrophe before catastrophe arrives. It is, in essence, a succession insurance policy, and the asset it insures is worth more than any private estate on Earth. The logic is blunt and unapologetic. If a plane carrying the King and the Prince of Wales crashes, the line of succession collapses into immediate constitutional chaos. The Crown and the multi-billion-pound estate it controls, from the vast land holdings of the duchies to the offshore wind revenues of the Crown Estate to the palaces and castles that dot the English and Scottish landscapes, would pass to someone potentially unprepared, untrained, and unvetted for the role. The monarchy's continuity and the sprawling financial empire tied to its survival depends on never allowing a single accident to destroy multiple generations of heirs at once. This is not sentimentality. This is asset protection on a national scale. The kind of risk management that would make any investment bank nod in approval. The rule tightens sharply when a young heir reaches the age of 12. Before that milestone birthday, the sovereign can grant written permission for the family to travel together on the same aircraft. William and Kate used those exceptions generously throughout Charlotte's early childhood. The Flybe flights, the economy, trips to Balmoral, the family holidays where all 5 Wales boarded a single plane together. Those warm, ordinary-looking trips were possible because George, Charlotte, and Louis were all under 12, and the King authorized family travel as a unit. That shifted on July 22, 2025. Prince George turned 12. He is second in line to the throne, directly behind his father. From that birthday forward, advisors, protection teams, and constitutional officials began pressing, in briefings, in memos, in quiet corridor conversations, for George and William to fly on separate aircraft for longer, higher-risk journeys. And here is where the cost gets wild. Where one chartered aircraft or one set of commercial tickets once sufficed, the protocol now demands two crews of protection officers, 2 advance teams, 2 sets of ground transport at each destination, 2 separate itineraries coordinated in parallel. The cost of moving the Wales family, already substantial, effectively doubles for any trip where William and George must be separated. Former royal pilot Graham Laurie confirmed that when Prince William himself turned 12 in 1994, the same restriction took effect. He began flying separately from his father, then Prince Charles. Queen Elizabeth II granted occasional exceptions for family holidays, but the expectation was firmly established. Charlotte sits in a distinctive position within this calculation. She is third in line behind William and George. The strictest version of the flying rule does not bind her yet. She is not the heir immediately after the heir apparent. She can still fly with her parents, with George, or with Louis without triggering the protocol's most unforgiving requirements, but the family dynamic shifts around her regardless. If William must fly separately from George on an official trip, then Kate and the younger children, Charlotte and Louis, likely travel with one parent, while George accompanies the other, surrounded by dedicated protection officers and ferried by aircraft funded from a budget that ordinary families could only dream of encountering. The family that once squeezed onto a 73-pound Flybe flight together may soon require 2 separate sets of transport, doubling the already staggering cost of moving the future of the British monarchy from point A to point B. And this is the same family dynamic Kate has described as beautifully chaotic.
Well, homeschooling is a challenge, as I imagine you're experiencing yourself. I also have 3 children at different ages, and it is quite difficult keeping them all occupied with...
That is Kate during lockdown, sounding like every parent on the planet. 3 children, different ages, different needs. The same struggle whether you live in a council flat or a royal cottage. But the difference is that keeping those 3 children together on the same plane now requires permission from the King of England. Reports suggest that William and Kate may push to negotiate exceptions for private family trips. They have fought to keep the family together. They chose Lambrook School specifically so all 3 children could attend the same institution. They spend holidays as a unit. They protect the sibling bond that Charlotte, George, and Louis share with fierce intentionality. Splitting them in the sky contradicts everything they have built on the ground. However, while the family navigates these invisible rules thousands of feet above the ground, there is an entire apparatus beneath them, expensive, secretive, and relentless, dedicated to ensuring that Charlotte's wealth and status never make her a target. The invisible army that guards the fortune. The cost of protecting Princess Charlotte is not listed in any public budget, and that secrecy is entirely by design. The security apparatus surrounding the Wales children operates in a deliberate financial shadow, funded by the Home Office and the Metropolitan Police, kept separate from the sovereign grant, and hidden from the public eye with a thoroughness that borders on institutional obsession. Charlotte, George, and Louis receive full automatic close protection from the Metropolitan Police's Royalty and Specialist Protection Unit, known as RASP. This is not a request-based service. It is not optional. It cannot be declined. As the children of the heir apparent, they qualify for the highest tier of taxpayer-funded personal security in the United Kingdom. Armed officers accompany them every single day. School runs, birthday parties, trips to the park, visits to friends. Every movement Charlotte makes outside the walls of Adelaide Cottage or Kensington Palace involves trained, armed personnel who have been vetted, briefed, and positioned in advance before she even steps through the door. The decisions about who receives this level of protection are made by REVEC, the Royal and VYP Executive Committee. This body operates under the authority of the Home Secretary and comprises around 10 senior representatives from the Home Office, the Metropolitan Police, the Cabinet Office, the Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office, and the Royal Household. An independent chair, not a government minister, makes the final determination after consulting intelligence assessments from the Risk Management Board, a specialist subgroup of security and intelligence professionals that evaluates threats ranging from terrorism and extremism to fixated individuals and stalkers. The Royal Household household provides advisory input on family needs, but it does not control the threat analysis or the final decision. That power rests solely with the security professionals and the independent chair. The entire framework is designed to be immune from political interference, though its opacity means the public never sees the bills it generates. Charlotte's protection is classified as automatic. She does not need a specific, documented threat to justify the armed officers surrounding her. Her position in the line of succession, combined with her father's status as heir apparent, means the state treats her safety as a non-negotiable priority, a cost that must be absorbed regardless of public opinion or budgetary pressure. Every day, multiple officers rotate shifts around her schedule. Every venue she enters has been swept in advance. Every route her armored vehicle takes has been assessed for risk and mapped for alternative escape paths. The cumulative expense of maintaining this level of coverage for a single child, year after year, from infancy through adolescence and beyond, represents a river of taxpayer money that flows without interruption and without public accounting. The officers who guard her dress in civilian clothes. They wear jeans and jackets. They carry backpacks. They are trained to blend into school gates, airport queues, and public crowds so seamlessly that you would never identify them unless you knew precisely what to look for. The earpiece wire barely visible beneath a collar, the particular posture of constant alertness, the way their eyes sweep a space methodically without lingering on any single face. And behind all of that protection, this is what Charlotte is actually like.
David Attenborough. I like spiders. Do you like spiders too?
That is pure Charlotte, the confidence, the charm, the slightly cheeky warmth that has made her one of the most adored young royals on the planet. And here she is alongside her brother in their first ever public speaking appearance, with George asking the big question.
Hello, David Attenborough. What animal do you think will become extinct next?
What the public does not see in moments like these is the security perimeter that existed around that filming location, the officers, positioned carefully out of frame, the advanced team that swept and cleared the area long before the cameras rolled. Every charming, relatable clip of Charlotte being a normal kid is produced inside a ring of armed protection that the viewer never detects. The financial scale of this protection is staggering, though the exact figures for individual royals are never published. Critics estimate the total annual security cost for the entire royal family at hundreds of millions of pounds. The Republic Campaign Group has placed the figure as high as £510 million per year when including security, lost revenue, and hidden costs. The official sovereign grant figures tell a much smaller story, but they deliberately exclude the single most expensive element, the armed protection that follows Charlotte from her bedroom to her classroom and back again, every day of her young life. But the institution funding that protection is far from immune to scrutiny, and the mounting pressure on the Crown's finances is beginning to crack the gilded story of Charlotte's privilege wide open. The fortune under pressure. The world's richest kid label that tabloids attach to Princess Charlotte is constructed on projections, speculation, and viral clickbait, not reality. Wild claims of a personal net worth between 3 and 8 billion pounds circulate endlessly on social media and YouTube thumbnails, but Charlotte does not control a single penny of that figure. She is 10 years old. She does not hold property in her own name. She does not draw income from the Duchy of Cornwall or the Crown Estate. The wealth attributed to her is a tabloid calculation of what she might one day inherit, blended with the estimated value of the privileges she currently enjoys, the residences, the security, the travel fleet, the institutional access. What is real, however, is the financial machinery that surrounds her every waking moment. The sovereign grant rose from £86.3 million in 2024 to 2025 to £132.1 million in 2025 to 2026, fueled by record Crown Estate profits from offshore wind energy leases. Projections for 2026 to 27 push the figure to approximately £137.9 million. The Duchy of Cornwall generated £22.9 million in surplus for the Wales family's combined official, charitable, and private use. The Duchy of Lancaster provides King Charles Charles roughly £28.7 million annually, supplemented by private estates and undisclosed investment portfolios. This is the fortune that funds Charlotte's daily existence: the helicopters, the RAF Voyager flights, the armored Range Rovers, the round-the-clock protection officers, the thousands of pounds per term school fees, the palaces and cottages. All of it traces back to a centuries-old financial network generating income from land, property, energy leases, and direct public funding. The Crown Estate alone holds a portfolio valued in the tens of billions of pounds, stretching from Regent Street in central London to wine farms anchored in the seabed of the North Sea. Charlotte does not sign any paperwork related to these assets. She does not attend any board meetings. But every element of her gilded, carefully guarded life flows from revenue they produce. But that fortune faces a kind of pressure it has not confronted in modern memory. Support for the monarchy has been slipping steadily downward. A February 2026 Savanta poll conducted for the Republic Group found that monarchy support had fallen to just 45%, with youth support between ages 18 and 34 dropping as low as 23 to 28%. An Ipsos poll from the same month showed popularity declining across the board, with the belief that abolishing the monarchy would be worse, falling to 37%. The reasons are tangled and compounding. The sovereign grant increase from £7.9 million when the grant was first introduced in 2011 to £132.1 million in 2025 to 26 strikes many British taxpayers as excessive during a prolonged cost of living crisis. That is a 16-fold increase in public funding for the royal household in barely 15 years, at a time when ordinary families are cutting back on heating, groceries, and school supplies. Critics and abolition campaigners have seized on these numbers to argue that the monarchy is an outdated, extravagantly costly institution that the British public can no longer justify bankrolling. Scandals involving senior family members have compounded the erosion of trust. Prince Andrew was stripped of his title and honors by King Charles in 2025, and his February 2026 arrest on suspicion of misconduct in public office deepened the reputational damage across the entire institution. The sovereign grant's own annual report detailed £34 million in payroll for roughly 539 staff and £17.6 million in property maintenance. Numbers that, when set against falling approval ratings, fuel the argument that the Crown's financial privileges are no longer proportionate to its public value. And when Princess Anne was asked about the slimmed-down monarchy concept, her answer was as blunt as you would expect.
Well, I think the slimmed down was said in a day when there were a few more people around to make that seem like a justifiable comment.
The world changes a bit.
It changes a bit.
That is Princess Anne being Princess Anne, pragmatic, unbothered, and cutting straight to the point. Fewer working royals does not mean a leaner, cheaper operation. It means fewer hands to carry the same crushing workload. And it means the financial spotlight on the royals who remain burns hotter than ever. For Charlotte, all of this turbulence exists as background noise to a childhood her parents have fought fiercely to keep ordinary. She attends Lambrook School as Charlotte Wales. She plays rugby and runs hurdles. She crafts obsessively. Kate described the children spending an entire summer crafting in every corner of the house. William once said of his daughter that he thinks she is going to be trouble when she's older. A warm joke about her confident, spirited personality, not a warning. And honestly, you can hear that personality radiating through moments like this one, where Kate reveals the sibling dynamics at home.
Yeah, it's so true. And actually, George gets very upset because he just wants to do all of Charlotte's projects, like making sort of spider sandwiches, as far cooler than doing literacy.
George, jealous of Charlotte's craft projects, spider sandwiches. That is the sibling energy of a family with access to RAF jets and Crown estates enduring the exact same chaotic kitchen table homeschooling as the rest of the world. The wealth does not change the bickering. It does not change the mess. It just changes who cleans it up. Either ways, the Richest kid label is premature. And the way she travels, quietly, secretly, under names that are not her own, says more about the pressures bearing down on that fortune than any tabloid headline ever will. Thanks for watching. Check out our other content by clicking on the screen.